I'm a runner. Tomorrow, I'm going to go out and start running 22 miles for the next 22 days. Right around there is the first time I was introduced to cocaine. I was involved in 2 drug raids in Toledo, ran a crack house, but didn't make money, but I was the guy holding on to everything. But regardless, I was predestined to be an addict. So I get in his car and we go up 1 block to a 4-way stop sign and we get surrounded by undercover cops. And he's got this clipboard, rifles. But he said, no, unfortunately, you're HIV positive. Thought about getting a pile of cocaine. I slept with a shotgun for about 3 weeks. Let this motherfucking cancer keep you humble, you son of a bitch. I stayed sober purely out of fucking spite. I would never say it publicly.
Right.
So
well, you have now.
Yeah.
This doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious.
I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got them picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life, I'm about to come
Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I am your host, Troy Neff, the fucking guy. And we're going to do something we haven't done yet. We have done one interview, but we haven't done an in-person interview, so we're going to be doing that. And, of course, here, orchestrating it all, making sure it all happens and looks good for you, is our man Chase. Chase, you're looking fucking killer today. You are a legend killer today, just like that shirt says. That's beautiful, man. No, we can't hear you at all. Oh, we had that actual... Okay. All right. I won't ask you. I won't ask you. But we appreciate it. And this is really a cool kind of experience this weekend because my friend joining us is Bob Mohr. And Bob and I have known each other for quite some number of years now, but we never met face to face. You know, we talked on the phone, we talked on social media, and, you know, we had some things in common with our story, you know, and just seemed to hit things off. And he was coming out here with his wonderful wife, Cindy, to head to San Diego for the company that she works for. And I invited him to stop on the way and hang out for a weekend. And the one thing I think Bob will be able to vouch for is it's pretty fucking cool to hang out with me. And it's been cool to hang out with them too. But I mean, we've done some pretty cool shit already. You know, his first night in, we went to Bourbon and Bones, and he ordered his steak, and I had him do it flambe like yours, and light that shit up, and it was just cool as fuck, and just great food and great company. And then Saturday it was an all-day trip, man, to Tucson, brother, and it worked out good. You know, worked out good with the Colorado Buffaloes playing maybe one of their best games of the season against a team that's at least average this year and was like 8-3, I think, last year. You know, I mean, Arizona was a solid team, so that was a really good win. And then I took them to Caldwell County. When we got back, we went to Caldwell County Barbecue, and man, that fucking place was packed, man. I've never been there when it's that packed on a Friday, Saturday, or been on a Friday, Saturday night. And because it's so big and it's a destination place now, not just a food place, you know, with all the things they're adding there. Incredible. And the line moved so fast. You'd have thought it was fucking Chick-fil-A. That's how fast that line moved. It was really, really good. We got some leftovers, but we'll be making some chili today. But so we thought this would be a good opportunity. Like, he's going to be, like, I know, he's going to be on the show. So introducing my friend and Bob Mohr. Bob, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having us out here.
Yeah, well, it's been a great time, man. Just fun. And you got a couple more days. What, Tuesday?
Tuesday, we fly back out
to
San Diego.
Yeah. So one of the things that kind of brought us together was our journey with alcoholism and addiction. And that's what I thought, you know. And the other thing is that I'm going to tell you guys right now is Bob is a badass fucking runner. Like, and not just like normal runner, like David Goggins badass runner, you know, doing the 50-mile, 100-mile shit, or 50, whatever they call that shit, like the ultra shit, ultra marathons. And even I think what's the most is 200
Yeah,
Is
I've
200
run one 200-mile race.
Yeah. And that's like you do that shit over like what, 3 days or something or not?
That
You
one
said
you had
9
4 days
Yeah.
to finish.
That's fucking
Yes.
crazy, man. That's just insane. So, and the other thing is that we're going to add in here too at some point is, Bob being a friend is also become a client as well. And with what he wants to do, and, he wants to run, he wants to be his best self. And that takes fixing hormones sometimes. And that's what we're working on now. We were just looking at his labs before we got here, and we have a couple tweaks we need to make. But overall, recovery purposes, he'll tell you it's been fantastic
Incredible.
for yeah.
Incredible. Soul recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's not people think you're just supposed to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger taking this shit. And that's not what all this shit is for. It's for performance and to be your best and healthiest, especially when you get up here into your late 50s,
Right.
later 50s. So, Bob, why don't we start with a little bit like your childhood history growing up? What was that like?
Well, I'm the oldest of 12 children. Got 9 sisters, 2 brothers. So, I mean, you try to stay sober and with 9 chicks. That's what I always say. And
and that was in Michigan.
Yeah, we grew up in Bedford Township. We moved there in 1975. So my mom and dad are still alive. My father's 89, mom's 5. And like I said, I'm the oldest of 12. And I don't know, they say that shit runs in the family, 1 out of 12. My parents didn't do anything wrong. No, I was raised right. We didn't have a lot, but we didn't know that either. What we had, we were very grateful for. It was a good upbringing. And once again, like I said, the love was the same across the board for all 12 of us, right? Even though maybe looking back, my mind might be a little more twisted than the rest. And being the oldest, it was always like every time I fucking turned around, there was another kid. What about me? So the best way I knew how to do was to act out. I wasn't the greatest student. Really didn't mess. A couple times drank in high school. But my junior year is when my life changed.
Junior year of high school?
Junior year of high school. There were things growing up, but nothing out of the ordinary. Born Catholic, raised Catholic. Not really a practicing Catholic now. Kind of laugh at the church myself, to tell you the truth. We won't go any farther than that, but whatever.
No, but you have. You'll get into it later. But you still have a spiritual relationship with God. That's
I'm alive because of God. Whether no matter how far I fucking pushed him out, he was always there. Giving proof. 38 incarcerations, prison number, HIV diagnosis, got through cancer, homeless. Yeah.
Yeah. So
anybody that doesn't think God was there, hey, fuck off.
Sure. But when did that initially start? Like your real journey into alcohol or drugs?
Well,
what was the mix?
Kind of changed my whole. I wasn't the greatest student, but my junior year on career day, when all the military came in, saw them up there talking, and soon as I saw that fucking Marine in his dress blue, I'm gonna be a fucking Marine, and it's kind of where it changed there. I was 17. My parents had to sign. Sitting at my parents' dining room table, I had a choice of being a air traffic controller, fireman, or machine gunner. What's a 17-year-old choose? And from there, my senior year in high school, I was just a belligerent student that barely was there. I knew I had to graduate and pass government. My senior trip in Florida, this is where we should have known. I got alcohol poisoning and had to be taken to the emergency room and have my stomach pumped. I walked around with a half gallon of vodka and a half gallon of orange juice, shake, drinking screwdrivers. And I wasn't going to fucking share it with anybody. That was my booze.
Right.
I kind of remember I remember a couple things. I remember there was a health teacher, Mr. Jenkins, came into our room as I'm puking in the bathtub. I told him I had bad food. I remember saying that, and I remember him saying, all those health movies, and they did nothing for you, huh? And then I remember going on a gurney, and I told the ambulance attendants to slow the elevator down going downstairs. And that's about all I remember. So I woke up in the morning. They made me call my parents. Now remember, this was 1983.
Right.
From a payphone in the emergency room. How do you call? Collect. But obviously,
there's people watching that you don't even know what the fuck collect is.
Right. So, and obviously, the night before, they contacted my parents. And so, one thing I did leave out, growing up in our dining room, being the good Irish Catholics we had a half barrel on tap of Blatz. We always had a keg of beer in the house.
But so, your family owned a bar though too.
Yeah, and we owned a bottling company. But that was a family thing. There was my father and two of my aunts and uncles. They bought them on a package deal at Beer Meisters. But so my parents drank, and like all Catholic, whatever. But I remember my dad getting on the phone and he said, "How was your night last night?" I said, "Well, got a little trouble." He said, "Yeah, we heard." He said, "How you feeling?" I said, "Not bad, but I think it was because they pumped my stomach." All I wanted to do was get back to the Hawaiian Inn and party the last 2 days, And
so that had no effect on stopping you.
No.
Didn't even dawn on you.
No, I was done drinking at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to drink. And my dad said, "Well, they wanted to send you home early." And your mother and myself said, "Nah, he should stay down there and have fun." So I did, and I really, from that point on, I didn't drink probably a good year from that.
Really?
I was done, yeah. Yeah, it was one and done, I thought. And then when I graduated from boot camp, I had a huge ego and came I came back to Toledo, had a fake ID. Before I even went to infantry training school, Kips, remember Kips West?
Yes.
Snuck in there, got drunk, had the ego, got my ass kicked, drunk. And it was more like, I'm a Marine, I'm supposed to fucking drink, right? So then when I go back out to infantry training school in Camp Pendleton, I ended up graduating the company honorman, best physical fitness and academics, the few academics that there were that we had in the Mohr.
Now, did you have any athletics in school at all, or growing up? Did you play baseball?
I wrestled for Bedford.
You wrestled. You were a wrestler?
Yeah, I was a wrestler. Average at best.
But you were more on the athletic side, or interested in athletics.
Yeah. I played little league baseball growing up. I was the guy in the right field. Don't hit it to me. Please don't hit it to me. Yeah, it was a great. So I was an average wrestler for Bedford, which was a great team.
Yeah. Bedford's been a solid
so like
community.
at infantry training school on Marine Corps bases, you can drink at 18. So it was a huge ego thing. It was work hard, play hard, and that's where it really started. And I could party all night and still go out and run perfect physical fitness test every day. So what's that do to an ego?
Right.
Yeah, I'm bad as fuck.
Right.
I could run the 3 miles in 18 minutes or less, 20 pull-ups, 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes every time. And I was always first in the run.
Had you run before that?
No, it was like an ego thing in boot camp when I found out I could run. Yeah. I mean, we ran not cross country, preseason training for wrestling, but I didn't know I was a runner.
Too. Yeah.
I just
there was no light bulb that clicked on that said I was a fucking runner.
It was during boot camp really where it kind of clicked on a little bit because I wasn't the biggest kid either. I went into boot camp at 135 but I was fucking fast and it was cool. And whatever anybody says, we're humans. It's fucking fun to win. It's fun if it's your platoon, if it's your company.
Now,
It's fun to be
yeah,
first.
how many years did you serve then?
6 years.
6 years.
So
And during those 6 years, then, did you have any like episodes that would like stand out with the drinking that were similar to the high school that you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, many.
And
Just bar fights. So I only joined the reserves.
yeah, but that's what you all did. Marines,
Well, I
Marines
was in
drank
the
and got
reserves.
fights, right?
Yeah, but I was in the reserves, so I
Okay.
came back home to Toledo, and but yeah, out there is where the drink, work hard, play hard mentality came in. You know, and by no means how many in my family at the time blamed the Marines for my drinking. The Marines isn't why I was an alcoholic and addict.
Right.
Were there seeds planted? Yeah, it was an ego thing. But regardless, I was predestined to be an addict. It's a fucking disease.
Now, was it just mostly alcohol at that point?
At that
If you
point, it
took
was
like-
alcohol, yeah. But there were times, so remember, I said I'm the oldest of 12 children, right?
Right.
There's 20 years difference between me and my baby sister, not much. So, and I went to boot camp at 17. So when I came home, I was living at my parents' house and causing all kinds of ruckus, like coming home, stumbling, blacked out, 2:30 in the morning, waking the house up. Actually, like narcissistic behaviors. How dare you? Don't you know who the fuck I am? I'm a fucking Marine. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. You know, my parents, like I said, they loved us all the same, and they were my biggest enablers. That's a tough line to cross, love and enabling. I just remember one night in particular, laying. Our house had 7 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3 floors, split level. But I was on the in the 3rd floor bathroom, laying on the floor, which is above mom and dad's, and carrying on. My mom is a saint. She raised 12 of us and worked full time as a nurse. You know, she came up there and just looked at me and said, "My mom is not cuss, unless she's pissed." And she just looked at me. Goddamn fucking Marine. I hope you're proud of yourself. Yeah. I will always remember that day. I don't remember the rest of that night. I don't remember how I got up to the bedroom to puke. But there were just shit like that went on for a long time.
You're listening to the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. And there's one thing you can do for us. If you're getting value from this video today or our other videos, but especially this one today, where you got to hear a friend of mine's story, his addiction story, and it touched you in some way, you can do one thing for us that will help us more than any other thing. It's great when you like it, it's great when you subscribe. Please do, but it's the share. Please share this story with someone else that you think can benefit from it. I'm the fucking guy.
And work, I went to college for 1 semester.
So, but at no point here, like, has anybody talked about, like, you have a problem?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, plenty. So,
and did you say, "Oh, well, I'll try," or like, "I'll control it more"? What was the?
So probably the first time, yeah, I have. At that point, probably 1985-ish, 84. I got my first drunk driving.
And were you still living at home then?
Yeah, it was simple. Slap on the wrist and dropped it down to reckless operation. I did 3 days out at White House, the old workhouse, which I don't know if you even remember that.
I know, but I didn't go there.
Yeah.
I went to the one they had later on.
So yeah, I went there and, it was slap on the wrist. You gonna do that again? No. Don't you think you should slow down? Yeah, you're probably right. Oh, probably. 3 months after that, my first disorderly conduct / intoxication. I had those all the time. 85 was probably the first time I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. And this was all drinking still. The main reason it was drinking only is even though I was just in the reserves, I didn't want to get kicked out at drug tests.
Right.
And on our weekends, that's how we drank still. So I did one semester and flunked out and ended up, my uncle was a business agent for the Painters Union and got into the Painters Union. That's my trade, which was the same, all the trades. Work hard, play hard.
Yep.
Work hard, play hard.
Yep.
So
Get
and
that
that
check
just
and
like-
take it to the bar.
that was it, you know.
Hell, they might cash it at the bar.
I don't know, by 1989, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I had probably 2 assault charges by then, 4 or 5 disorderly conducts, another reckless operation that should have been a driving intoxicated, but that was in Michigan. I lived on the border, so I kept my incarceration, you know, equal opportunity.
Right.
So,
Now, what about
now-
you said a little bit about your work life. You're being a union painter now, but what about personal life as far as women?
oh yeah,
What was
I
it?
was, I was a pig. Yeah. I didn't keep many relationships because I was not very trustworthy as far as what do you call that when monogamy at all.
Yeah.
No. They're never going to catch me. And, you know what happens when you lie back and forth. Well, and also in 1988, my son was born, and we have a very broken relationship because of that. Even still to this day, I was that asshole dad that I'll be there and never there, and I remember
Breaking
a lot-
promises.
breaking promises. A lot of like a lot of people out there watching us, they probably don't remember answering machines, but coming home like on a Friday at midnight, turning the answering machine on and like 5, Dad, I thought you were getting me. My heart still hurts.
Yeah.
Shit hurts. I fucked up.
Well,
a
we
lot of
did. We
shit.
did that. We hurt people.
Yeah, that's just what we did. But when I got out of the Marine Corps, and all this time, I was in and out of living at my parents' house. Oh, I got evicted again. No, it wasn't my fault. Well, yeah, it was. I usually didn't pay my bills, or there were too many parties. Whatever. There was always something. I wasn't responsible. I mean, I was a full-blown alcoholic, no doubt. But what do they call it? Functioning. Because I worked because I knew I had to.
You didn't drink at work. You didn't have
No,
to drink
I
in the
really
morning.
didn't. No, not at that. Not yet. Not yet. When I got out of the Marine Corps, then that's when a lot of shit changed. Because right after that, the Gulf War started, and I tried to get back in. And those like 6 months from the time I got out to the Gulf War, I got 2 DUIs, and those were DUIs. There was no getting out of it. No.
And really,
plea
they're really they're
By that time, it's my
they're two,
fourth.
but they're really your
That's my
fourth.
fourth, but they're the 2 that are on record that are drunk driving. And they wouldn't let me in because of that. And that's where, at the time, I didn't realize it, but looking back, when I finally did a honest and thorough 4-step in the back and started forgiving myself and others, a huge resentment because
Yeah,
in
you
my
were
head, you motherfuckers taught me how to drink. You taught me how to kill. Now I can't go because of the drinking you fucking taught me. Was the thought process. Was it true? No.
No, they're just
And I
not
held
taking
on.
responsibility.
Yeah, and I held on to that chip on my shoulder weighed me down for a long time. And all through that, there were just all kinds of drunken brawls. I'd open my mouth. I'd hit on some guy's wife. Probably 99.9% of the fights I were in were my fault. Maybe 0.1. I was actually defending somebody. And just, the typical life. I could go on and on about that.
I get.
But also about 1990, right around there is the first time I was introduced to cocaine.
Okay.
And I love that because you drink more beer, you know. But it was still
Was
at that
beer your
point.
main thing
Yeah, it was
versus
beer.
liquor?
Well, I'd do shots, and then that's when shit
Right.
would get really
Yeah,
sideways.
yeah.
But yeah, I really didn't
But
do
you-
much. Many mixed drinks. The only mixed drink I really did was margaritas at Jumbo's at El Matador's.
I know El Matador's.
You know the Jumbo's, right? And that was really the only mixed drink I really drank.
Okay.
But lots of
So
shots.
beer and some shots.
Lots of shots, yeah.
And then how were you where were you introduced to cocaine? At the bar?
At the bar, yeah. Who knows? And
Sure.
I don't remember the exact. It was around that time.
And it was somebody else's.
Oh yeah. I
Share,
didn't go out
right?
and buy
Yeah,
it,
right.
And that's why I laugh. And these are all my opinions. It's my journey. So fuck anybody else that doesn't believe my journey. But in my honest opinion, alcohol is a gateway drug, not marijuana, because every drug I tried was because I was drunk. Yeah. I honestly don't think that had I been stone cold sober and somebody starts chopping up some lines, I think it's more.
Well, it brings your
80,
inhibitions
20.
down, you know.
Exactly.
Like then you're
80%,
like, why
20.
not? Everybody,
Maybe a 20% chance I would have said, yeah, let me fire up one of them gaggers, you know.
Had you ever, up to that point, had you ever known or really seen somebody that in the family or friends' family that was an alcoholic?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I had two uncles that were, but in the good Catholic, tradition, it swept under that throw rug at the front door of the family speed bump.
Right.
That eventually you're gonna fucking trip over that speed bump.
Right.
There were indications. Yeah, my uncle Dick, he was a good guy. Whenever he was coming to visit, Mom and Dad would put on a pot of coffee. Fuck. 5 PM, smell coffee. Oh, is Uncle Dick coming over? But it wasn't ever talked about. Uncle Dick just drank coffee, right? Until I started getting in trouble. We owned a soda pop company, and we made all our own flavors. We had all our own recipes. My uncle made syrups, and we bottled, and I bottled there for a couple years and delivered pop. As I was in the apprenticeship program painting, and every single day, about 11:45, regardless if we're in the middle of bottling, Uncle Dick shut everything down and was gone. Came back at 1:15. Well, fast forward to 1997. At that point, that was DUI number 8. And I was out, and from that point on, from the time I got out of the Marine Corps, 97, I was hell on wheels. So went to jail, we went to the hood. And at that point, somewhere there, I was introduced to crack and liked them both. It didn't matter. I could do blow, cool. When the bars closed, I really didn't want blow. I wanted to go smoke crack. But I really didn't know where to get it all the time. And I was introduced to the crack by a friend, acquaintance, whatever, at Charlie's Blind Pig one night. But anyway, so we were out, we left a bar, and I also wasn't driving at that point because didn't have a license. But I was driving his car, so he wouldn't get a DUI, right? Hey, I'll drive. What the fuck? We're going. He had the money. He wanted to get some blow, and we left the bar. And in my mind, I knew where to get crack. He didn't want crack, but I told him it was coke, and I was going to chop it up, and he could snort some lines of crack. Didn't know what would happen, and I'd have crack to smoke, right? And we go to the hood, Detroit and Central area. I knew that neighborhood because earlier in our life, my father had a bar over in that neighborhood. Right. And I go to this house I know, and I knock on the door, and nobody's answering. What the fuck? And I'm pounding, I'm drunk, and still no, and we're in the hood. We're on Glenwood. And so I get in his car, and we go up one block to a 4-way stop sign, and we get surrounded by undercover cops, Toledo cops everywhere. And come to find out, the house had got raided.
Oh.
Okay, so
And they knew you had been there.
so I get out of the car and they take me out, and I'm sitting on the hood of the car, and over on this side was Jeep, the 10 Mile Creek and Jeep. And I'm just sitting there, no handcuffs, and there's these guys all around. Some of them got their faces covered in the black, and they're talking to my buddy. I won't say his name. And I'm just like, you know what? They ain't fucking me. Let's run. I take off, and I'm running. And I'm looking behind me, and I hit something so hard. What I hit ended up, it was a probably 6'5" black cop in all the black stuff. And he grabs me by the neck and spraying me with mace the whole way going down to the ground. And there I am, the big badass I am, right? You can stop. I wasn't gonna run. And from that day to now, I had never had a drop of alcohol.
And what year was that?
That was 1997, May of 1997, maybe the end of April. I don't remember the exact day. Went, sat in the ballpen at the Lucas County Jail, went in front of a judge, Judge Arlene Singer, and we're sitting there, and I mean, they kept dunking my head in a bucket of water the night before to clean the mace off. That's all they did. It was sucked. So I'm stinking of brew, everything, and I'm in handcuffs, taped to my, shackled to my waist, and never forget this. The couple charges that I had, and I said, now I had all kinds of charges because they were all nonviolent at that point in my life, but they kept giving me OR, releasing me on my own recognizance. Sure, I'll fucking come back. I never came back. So I asked her, I said, can I have a week to come back and obtain an attorney? She starts rifling through all these papers. There were, I forget, like 23 or 24 charges. And she said,
that you never came back for?
I never came back for. Yeah.
You are fucked.
And she said, Mr. Mohr, on a couple of these, you've had 18 months to obtain an attorney. I'm going to send you to Stryker, and you can call an attorney, collect call. And there I went out there. And that's when I was charged with a felony, but I never went to prison. I went to Stryker.
Okay.
But I do have a felony number. So I went out there, and back and forth, I had a, what do you call it? Public defender.
Okay.
But at that point, I wanted to change. I truly thought I was going to change. I did an IOP out there.
Yeah, tell me what the steps. I mean, you had some introduction at one point.
Yeah, I was
mentioned
in
AA,
and
so
out.
you knew
Yeah,
AA was there.
I knew AA because, like I said, the first time I had to go 85. There were 4 or 5 different times in there. A counselor. I went to Catholic Social Services for counseling a couple times, and had to have a lot of these things.
You knew there was help there. You just didn't want it.
I just didn't want it. I wasn't ready. I remember the one lady, Marilyn, my counselor in this group counseling, right, for a bunch of us that had DUIs. It was at Mount Carmel Church in Michigan. They'd, I think it was 2 hours, right? And like every 20 minutes, they'd take a smoke break, and this chick was smoking. The one that's teaching us to quit drinking. So me and my infinite wisdom, we got back from one of the smoke breaks, and I said, hey, Marilyn, just, you're going to teach us to quit drinking, but you can't fucking quit smoking? That don't make sense. So I was just that guy that I didn't want any part of any of that.
Right.
Quick flash forward. Marilyn and me reconnected on Facebook in 2019.
Yeah.
And actually met in person. I got goosebumps telling you. She came to a veterans horse therapy farm that I was involved with, and we went out to dinner. She said I was one of the few that she remembered through the years and often wondered if I was still alive. And we have a relationship now.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's that's the little things looking back.
So,
That
did they have AA meetings at
at
Stryker?
Stryker they had
Did,
AA.
did you
Oh,
start?
yeah.
Did you start
Oh, yeah,
going then?
I started running them in the
How
job.
often did they have them? Like, were they
They
a couple
had-
times a week,
They
or
had,
what was the?
I think they had 2 outside AAs where people from the program came in.
Yeah. Because we
And
would
then-
we would do that.
Yeah, and then we had our own. We had all the material, and whenever we wanted to have one, we would
Okay.
have one in our dorm.
Okay.
And there were 3 or 4 of us that were taking it serious, and we'd have at least one a day. Plus, when we did that, you got this little paper sign that went back
hmm
to say you're doing the right thing. So
How
that
much
was
time
part
did
of
you
the
spend there?
reason. I ended up spending, I think, 13 months out of.
That's some good time.
Yeah,
That's a
out
little bit of time.
18.
I mean,
Yeah, out of 18, I think. I got out 5 months early, and I was on fire when I got out. What do they call it? The pink cloud. I was going to go back.
rose-colored glasses.
Yep. I was going to, and my family was all involved with me. My son's mom and I reconnected.
And that doesn't always happen at the beginning of getting
No.
sober,
No.
because they have no reason to still trust us.
Right. But I was a good talker. I was a narcissist. I said what people wanted to hear. I was a major manipulator, but I really believed the shit at that time. I truly did. I was going to go to college and be a counselor, right? And that's what you do. Well, things happen. I did get a sponsor. Didn't really do an honest and thorough 4-step. I really didn't work the steps. But I went to like AA dances. I had fun. I really was starting to learn to enjoy life. I was
Sober, doing things sober.
doing sober things. Yeah, I dated a cop. Yeah, I did. My union companies, Lakeside Interiors, they hired me back. I was running work. I mean, shit was good. I was putting money in the bank.
What do you consider, looking back, your worst? What was your bottom?
We're not even yet. So right around that time,
I thought we're getting better.
No, we were, but then
So
Then-
so
then-
so tell me what
so-
changed. Things are getting better. What did you do to fuck it up?
I got a big ego that I never put in check. And the way that an addict's mind can think, you can twist shit around. I started doing a little coke because coke didn't get me DUIs. Coke.
I
didn't
never got in
get-
trouble with coke.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then from there it went to selling more than for my personal use. And, the weekend started Friday, Saturday. Oh, then my weekend started Thursday. Next thing you know, my weekend was Wednesday to fucking Wednesday because we got paid on Wednesdays. But that didn't happen overnight. Shit just started. Then from there, I went into crack and
Tell that too,
Yeah.
or just
at same
same thing?
Same thing, yeah. Crack never got me in fights. Crack never did this. Around 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. Went to my sister's house, told them I needed help. That didn't work out. But something that happened at that time, I met a guy that had the program Racing for Recovery, Todd Crandall. And just talking to him and how on fire he was about the program. Well, AA, about his program. AA didn't work for me. Maybe this will. But it didn't because I never went to a meeting. But I remembered how enthusiastic he was about running and physical fitness. So hold on to that for a minute, right? Fast forward to 2007. Just a whole lot of shit, stealing my parents' identity, stealing credit cards, stealing money from my family. 2007, I'm homeless. Lost a house in Lincoln Park, Michigan, right on the border, right at Fort Nauder Drive. And I bounced around from the southeast side of Detroit, walking up and down Telegraph Avenue, north end and west end of Toledo. Ate out of dumpsters at that time. Obviously had no job. And I was also introduced to opiates then because
So you know,
crack would keep you up all night. You have to sleep. So, it started off as some Percocets and eventually led to snorting of Percocets and then snorting heroin. Towards the end, shooting it a couple times, more than once, and more than a couple, quite a few. And I was still kind of hustling. I was involved in 2 drug raids in Toledo. Kind of ran a crack house, but didn't make money, but I was the guy holding on to everything. And I'd do some day labor. And then when I became totally homeless, I'd still do day labor, right? But I need to get fixed at the day, and you get paid cash, and I have $7 after I'd re-up for what I needed for the day. That $7 was going to be food, money, and every fucking night. Gino's Pizza about midnight when they throw the pizzas out, because that $7 I needed so I didn't get sick. My insatiable appetite for drugs far outweighed my appetite for food. I remember rummaging through Kroger dumpsters, being the Irish potato digger I am, digging for potatoes, finding the solid ones, going across the street to Speedway, putting them in the microwaves, butter, and walking down the road, eating baked potato and chopping on butter. It was tough. It was a pretty tough life. But in between there in 2007 also, in that time, from probably 2005 to 2007, no contact with my 11 siblings, mom and dad.
and by whose choice?
My choice, thinking that they hated me because I hated myself, not knowing, as much as I talk bad about the Catholic Church, my family's got a great faith, and I'm alive because they prayed for me. They still do. So sometimes I'm a bitch and might cry, little pussy sometimes. But I had a cousin who had a roofing company, and in 2007 he'd find me, and he wasn't a crackhead. He just would find me. Somehow he would find me. He'd let me work, but he wouldn't pay me till the end of the week. Till the end of the week, most of the times. But he was
Because you
also-
were asking.
I'd ask, and he'd give me some money. He'd pick me up. He gave me a cell phone. And he was my contact. I know he let my family know at least I was alive. He looks like shit, but he'd also take me to his house a couple days a week for a meal in the evening. And it was the summer. And my cousin he was my cousin by marriage. He married my cousin. They had 4 children, and 2 of them had spinal muscular atrophy, a form of muscular dystrophy. And there's some things that happened that summer. One, Samantha, who was 10 years old at the time, I was just over there, just kind of waiting to eat. And I knew when I ate over there, I could usually hit up Scott for about $60, and he'd pull it out, and I'd be all right for that night. And I was staying in an apartment towards Seacorn, Alexis. And Samantha and all the neighborhood kids are sitting around a picnic table coloring, right? And all of a sudden, all the kids get up, they're going on their bikes. Samantha's in her wheelchair, just looks at me and says, Bobby, I wish I could ride a bike. And my mind is so twisted at the time. My mind, I'm like, how fucking dare you, God, to put a fucking child in a chair like that, and I can't fucking control this fucking drugs. And that poor little girl, these are the quick thoughts, right? All of a sudden, she grabs the joystick, does a little pinwheel, and says, but they can't do that, can they, Bobby? And not looking at it that way at that time till further on, and I look back, that little girl didn't care, you know? I remember, like, I'd smoke cigarettes. I was so fucking out of shape. She'd say, want to go on a walk with me? And we'd go on a walk, and she'd drive that wheelchair, and all of a sudden she'd see a butterfly fucking fly in somebody's yard, and I'd have to chase after her. And there was another time, these two particular things I'll always remember. She comes out of the house, and she's crying, and I said, what's wrong, Samantha? Mommy won't let me swim. Like, go in, and I talked to my cousin Beth. I said, I'll go in the pool with her. They had an in-ground pool, right? So I go in the pool with her, and she's in like this special floaty thing, and she's over by the concrete steps that come down, and she's putting her little mangled feet up and down and making them move. And she says, Bobby, look, God lets me walk when I'm in the water. And that same fucking twisted, hateful thought to God, how fucking dare you do this to children? You know, that's where my faith was. But she didn't care. She could walk in the water, right?
Yeah.
So, finally,
Yeah. So
right around.
are you still are you using at that point?
Oh, hell yeah.
You're still
day,
using
every day, but I'm making it to work. And I'm roofing, dude. I'm on fucking roof.
right.
Dying every day, knowing I'm getting that check.
So when's the next?
Right before,
when's,
right
the
before
next,
Labor Day. This will lead into my total bottom. But right before Labor Day, I didn't show up a couple days for work, and Scott comes kicking the door in. But at this house I was staying at where he knew. It was a drug house, and he's not a big dude. And he's, get your fucking shit. We're fucking out of here. I'm fucking tired of this. You didn't sell my fucking cell phone, did you? No. You know, I'm like a dog with his tail between his legs. I'm defeated. He said, let's go. Get in the truck. He said, oh, this is kind of funny. So he puts me up for a week in the Crown Inn Motel at Jackman and Alexis. I don't know if you know that side of town, but it's basically a pay-by-the-hour crack hotel. But he's naive to the world.
Right.
But it's got a kitchenette.
Right.
You know, so, and there's a Kmart right behind the place. He buys me groceries, pans, and he puts me in this hotel. He said, don't fuck this up. They'll be here to pick you up in the morning. And I wasn't going to fuck it up. I mean, he bailed me out a lot of times. And of course, every night when I got home from work, I could get whatever I wanted there. And I did.
Right.
There. Right there. And so he found out. He said, why didn't you tell me about this hotel? He said, and I'm like, I didn't know. So then he takes me to the Bedford Inn the following week, okay? So this is Labor Day weekend. It's the Sunday before Labor Day of 2007. He calls, he says, hey, you want to paint my shed? I'll pay you and help me close the pool up. I'm like, yeah, cool. So he said, I'll be over to pick you up. Now, mind you, I have no license at that time, nothing. It's revoked. He's on his way, and I open the door up, and there's a dude's car who I owe money to. Fuck. The fuck is that cocksucker doing here? Does he know I'm here? So I call Scott. I say, hey, I'll be walking down Telegraph Avenue. The whole time I've been walking up and down there through these years. He blows up on the phone. Jesus Christ, what in the fuck did you do now? I'm so fucking pissed. I said, I'll explain it when you get here. I said, trust me. He picks me up. We go to his house. I paint. And then he says, "You want to go to the Mud Hens game?" And I told him there's a dude I owe money for drugs. He says, "You want to go to the Mud Hens game with me and the family?" I said, "Sure." So pack the kids in the van. He's got the handicap van with Samantha strapped in a wheelchair. We go there so I can change real quick. Fucker's car is still there. I go in and change real quick and don't even shower, just wipe a little bit of paint off. I come out and that dude's chick is outside. "There's that motherfucker, Kevin." Kevin's the dude I owed. Kevin's about 6'5". I was about, well, I'm 5'11", but I was about 155 pounds, but I thought I was ripped, badass. I was just cracked out. So I square off with him. He just keeps saying, "Where's my fucking money?" Scott's here with his kids in the van. Samantha's bawling. Scott gets out and says, "I just went to the ATM to take my kids to the Mud Hens game. I got $300 cash. Will that get me and my family out of here?" He said, "I'll make sure Bob works for me. He'll pay you off next week when he gets paid. Give me your number." Gives him the $300. I start going in the hotel room. He said, "Get in a fucking van." So you know how big I'm feeling at that time. Right. We still go to the game. And as we're driving, Kevin, his son, is kind of laughing. He's like 13 years old. He wanted to see a good fight. Right. And Scott looks over at me and he says, "Suppose I still got to buy you a fucking hot dog, huh?" I'm just like, fuck. All right. So I stay working till November 1st. I just remember that date. It was cold. Didn't want to go on I got paid. And that's when I disappeared for good. I was done. Didn't want to go on a fucking cold roof. I'd banked some money, not banked. I didn't have a bank account. I had a little stash and I got me a big amount of crack, and I was going to hustle and smoke my own and do my own thing. That lasted 3 days. And there I was, homeless again in the winter. January 28th of 2008, I was kicked out of a trap house for stealing, den among thieves, and I'm the one that they kicked out. I had like $15 on me, and could have had a little come up, but I was tired, fucking tired. The apartment was right by Franklin Park Mall, and through that time too, I'd go to church every once in a while, you know.
What, Catholic church?
Yeah,
you still go to Catholic church?
Yeah, and you know, I'd be twisting this shit around so much. I'd go to church, and then people came over or came to see me because I had phone numbers. Wherever I was, I could get what they needed, and I'd be no longer out of church an hour, and somebody wants something, and I'd be getting high, and I'd be like, "There you fucking go, God," you know,
right?
Or "This is God's will. This is God's will. He wants me to get high because these people called me," you know, because my faith and my twisting of God's words were fucked up.
Yeah.
So, and one other particular time at this house I was staying at, I remember every night I'd be by myself. Nobody would be there. And there was electricity in the house, but I was all alone. And I'd listen to this Christian old hymns radio station, right? And I'd just be like, fuck, something's got to give. I got to quit living this way. And that radio was on the day some dude came over, right? Mm-hmm. And we're getting high and that music's on. And he says, "Bob, you got to turn that shit off." And for the first time ever in my life, I said, "It don't fucking matter if I turn it off or not. God fucking knows what the fuck we're doing, bro." Right. And a little light bulb went off, not much. So when I got kicked out that day, January 28th, I'm walking and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm somewhat suicidal, just done with life. I'm a coward to take myself out. Although I got a scar, that's why I got this tattoo. Where I went the long way.
You tried the right way, at least. That's a real attempt.
And
that's I'm done.
I'm walking down Monroe Street, and I'm going to go to the Cherry Street Mission. That's where I'm on a mission to go. I'm going to take a shower, get a good night's sleep in a warm bed. But I go, it's cold, dude, and I'm just fucking cold, right? I walk by the Kent State Branch Library, and I send an email to my dad, let him know I'm alive. Walked away, and I got to the Cherry Street Mesh, and it was 7-ish. There was a fucking line around the block. I'm like, fuck that, I'm cold. And I had warrants, and I went and turned myself into jail. And
Just so you could be warm.
Warm, yeah, just done. I was done. And it seemed like the safest, best opportunity, right? And when I get there, it's all locked up. You got to ring a bell. And they're like, can we help you? I'm like, yeah, I think I got some warrants. And they come back on the monitor. You think you do? I said, no, open the fucking door. I do. and dude, as soon as they ran me and found out I have the warrants, they opened that up and I was locked up. It was the most freeing thing inside ever. My life to this day. There's fucking goosebumps. I knew I was safe, and a lot happened in there. I asked for the second floor, sober living floor. They had a lot of meetings there. The judge would not bring me into his courtroom. He was fucking Judge Gary Cook. He was pissed I didn't show up. When he finally called me after like 3 weeks sitting in the county. Also, I did make a collect call to my parents. Or no, I didn't. I didn't make the collect call. I sent them a letter because living in a county jail, I was allowed 6 pairs of white t-shirts, 6 pair of drawers, and 6 pair of socks. And I sent them a letter, and about 5 days after I sent that, I had a package, and my dad had got me underwear, socks, and t-shirts. My dad, love them to death. Got me tighty whities to wear in jail, not boxers. If you know, you know. So, but he did, you know. And he put $20 on my books. So when I went to jail, when I finally got to court, and I'm getting strong in there. I mean, sober living floor is cool. It's a lot of hustlers that know it's a little bit easier, but you get more trays. And a lot of these guys, I knew a couple of them from the streets. They told me they saw a look in my eye that I'm different. And they'd give me their extra trays. I was getting healthy. I was working out. I was starting to feel a little bit good about myself. And they had an IOP program that you had to do to stay on that floor. So when I get to court that first time, he asked me, Mr. Mohr, where were you in November? And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to say? And all of a sudden just blurted out, Your Honor, I was in crack houses getting high. I have a problem. I need some help. The first time I ever said that in my life. The courtroom was, God, you hear what that white boy said? That white boy say that? And he thanked me for telling him that. He said, I'm going to send you back. I don't know what to do right now. We need to have an assessment done on you. I'll see you in a week. Go back, and I'm feeling really good. I mean, I'm being honest now, you know, and I'm in jail, but I'm free. I'm the most free I've ever been in my life from here in, from my childhood. You know, there was nothing. What do they say? No chains binding me at all. I was fucking free. Went to court, or the next week I called. They hadn't done an assessment. Fucking blows up at his bailiff, at the whole system. He's pissed at them, not at me. And he says, I'm going to send you back, Mr. Mohr. I turn around to go, and I look back at him. I was up for sheriff's release. Nonviolent crimes. Jail was overcrowded. They were going to kick me the next day. And I said, Your Honor, I'm up for sheriff's release tomorrow. And if you release me, chances are I'm not coming back. And he blocked sheriff's release and thanked me for that. That's my honesty. I didn't want to be released, but I knew if I did, I'd go right back to the only thing I knew how anymore. I didn't know how to paint at that time. I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to fucking shower. I ate out of dumpsters.
Right. You'd have just
You know,
been.
I would have went right back.
Well, there was no other alternative. There was nothing for you out the door.
No, because in my mind, my family still hated me because I was just learning to love myself again. And if you don't love yourself, everybody hates you. In your mind, the whole world's against you. So go back to court. The following week, they still didn't assess me, and he was super. Dude, it was hilarious. He was so fucking pissed, but but not at me. But I was doing the right thing.
And
right?
You knew you were still getting to stay.
Yeah, and he said, I'm going to have to make a decision on this now. Now, mind you, I was looking at 2 to 5 years. Okay, looking at 2 to 5 years in prison
with somebody who's done over a year.
Yeah, and he looks at me and he says, there's something in you. I don't know why I'm doing this, Mr. Mohr. I'm going to send you to work release for 60 days. I'm going to send you to IOP. And when you find a job and a safe place to live, if it's before that 60 days, I will release you from work release. Fuck. I go back and I'm a little pissed because I wanted rehab, you know? All right, so I get back to the dorm, right? And I'm sitting there waiting for them to pick me up. I'm reading the Toledo Blade, and in the obituaries is a picture of Samantha. She died. Hello, cousin. The day that all my shit was released from me, and I'm just looking there, and I'm like, what the fuck, God? Again. You know, and I call my cousins, collect. The fuck do you do? The fuck do you do? They pick me up, take me to work release. The only fucking thoughts I had, the first time I'm going to look for a job, I'm gone. I'm fucking gone. And I'm sitting there in work release. They got me in and everything. You know, you get to wear your street clothes, so the fucking nasty ass street clothes that I had on, homeless, in a fucking garbage bag, sitting at the county jail is what I get to put back on, you know, but that's what I had to wear there. But I did have clean drawers and stuff that my dad had brought me.
Right. And
then when I got there, I was able to, there's a phone you can use, not call, collect. You can put money in. But anyways, I'm sitting there in the TV room. I'm just put my shit in a locker that they told me to, and I'm planning my escape. I'm so fucking ready. Fuck this place. Fuck changing my life. God took away that little girl that didn't deserve to die. That's fucking bullshit. There's somebody there who is, and I'm going to say Carl Ellis, who is my homie. He comes up to me. He's a black guy, right? And I'm just sitting there and I'm fucking just on fire. Says, how you doing, bro? I ain't talking to nobody. I got kind of my prison mentality at that time. He says, how'd you get up in here? I said, you my fucking lawyer? Nothing out of him. He just kind of sat there, turned around, and they got like the school lunch tables. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting this way under it. So he has his back to me, right in front of me, and he just like, what the fuck is this asshole doing? So I'm thinking about getting up, and he says something to me. I don't remember. And the way he said it was just kind of calming, so we started talking. And I told him about Samantha. I actually grabbed a blade there and showed him the picture of the obituary. Told him the story. And we kid about this now, but he was another one. He told me about his dad. He was a heroin junkie, and he's sober now. And he said, dude, I see a fire in your eyes. You know, another little God moment, God wink, that God put that guy in my life to keep me there. And to this day, we're still friends. He owned a landscaping business. After I moved, he came over and did my parents' lawn for me. So they had to sell the house.
So is this the bottom?
That's Yeah, I'm rising up now. The cream's starting to rise. I go look for a job, doing the IOP.
How long it had been at that point since you had a drug or alcohol?
It was like 28 days, I think.
Okay.
30-ish. Yeah, I was in the county for at least 30 days, maybe 35,
Mm-hmm.
and go out to look for a job, and I'm filling out. It sucked, dude. It sucked being. Yeah, I'm still not healed, my pride and my ego, and I'm going out to fill out applications to wash fucking dishes at restaurants downtown where I should be making a painter's wage. You
Right.
know, I haven't got the ability yet. And I'm not getting hired. I'm like, what the fuck? Look at me. Don't you know who the fuck I am? I'm changing my life. Why nobody calling me back on these fucking things I'm filling out? I was honest with them. I told them I'm in work release. That's all what the fuck? What's wrong with you, you motherfuckers? You know, and then I'm going to IOP for 4 hours a day too. But slowly, I'm not as reactionary.
Mhm.
Things are happening. You're not allowed to work out in work release, but we worked out in the showers. 3 people would be in there doing dips and push-ups while another one watched, so we didn't get caught, you know. And I was getting big. I was feeling healthy, you know. I finally get a job with the city of Toledo, working minimum wage through a temp service. It was called the division was called the neighborhoods division, and we all went in this jump van and we picked up garbage.
Right.
And it was cool, you know. It was cool. We drove through the hoods. A lot of these guys were hustlers that were in work release. I knew a couple of them, but they all told me how I looked healthy. You changed. There's something about you, you know. And I'm getting paid minimum wage, but I'm making money, and I'm trying to find a safe place to live at the same time too, because I got the job. The judge
Right.
says if I find a safe place, I'm good. Don't you know? The 59th day, I get out a day early. I found a place, the Open Door, which was on Cherry Street. Went to the halfway house, and some shit changed there. Still had to finish my IOP. In the meantime, I hadn't got a sponsor, but I had my eyes on a sponsor.
And you're going to meetings.
And I'm going to meetings.
Outside.
Outside. Well, we were only allowed to go to one outside meeting,
Okay.
and it was at probation. And that's where
But then after you got out.
Oh yeah, we
that
had to go
50
to seven. We had to go to
then you-
7 meetings a
Okay.
week to live at the Open Door.
Okay.
7 meetings plus the house meeting. Plus I had to do my IOP. Plus I worked full time. It was hard. It was hard, but I was fucking doing it.
Well, you needed
Dude,
hard.
I needed hard.
You needed hard.
So it was, I don't know, a week after I got there. In the neighborhoods division, the Open Door, are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I know it.
So, you know, it's
Yes.
in the hood.
Yeah.
It's in the fucking hood. The neighborhoods division was about a mile and a quarter, right? And I had these city of Toledo overalls. I'm like fucking working for the city. I was proud of myself, you know, with a minimum wage job. And some days I'd walk, you know, and other day we got a free bus card. So I used Carta some days. But I look on the porch every day when I went to work. Motherfuckers would be sitting there smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. I get home from work and them same motherfuckers be drinking Coke and smoking cigarettes. And I'm just like, this is fucking sobriety. I'm not going to make it.
Right.
I'm not going to fucking make it. And I cried that day. I went in the basement and cried. All right. Now I remember Todd. Remember the running. Okay. I remember 3 miles in 18 minutes. This is 2008. I'm 42 years old. I'm going to run 3 miles in 18 minutes because that was the perfect physical fitness test score for the Marine Corps. I'm going to show these motherfuckers, but most importantly, I'm going to show myself. I had these flat bottom, beat up fucking Reebok basketball shoes, basketball shorts, and a wife beater. And I leave the house. And the only way, we weren't allowed cell phones. I was kind of guesstimating, and I'd look at the clock when I left, and I guestimate that 1.5 miles was the Cherry Street Bridge and back. just by blocks, counting blocks. And dude, I ran like I was a blocking back. Don't get in my fucking way. I was blocking back for every NFL running back. I'm just running through the hood down Cherry Street as fast and hard as I can with so much piss and vinegar and anger. And eventually I did make the 18 minutes. It was probably 6 weeks into living there, but also, was it the IOP? Was it all the meetings? Was it the running? I wasn't any near as reactionary. I was enjoying life. I was having fun. I had a bike at that time. We used to ride. We had to be in the house at 11 and midnight, but we'd cruise the hood laughing at crackheads, riding our bikes. We'd go down to party in the park on our bikes and just hang out, watch people, just learning to have fun. That guy, Carl, right? Carl got out the day after me on the Saturday before Mother's Day. He knew my whole story by then too. We were tight. And Carl might have still been doing some dirt at that time. Not sure. We'd kind of laugh about it. He said, I'll never tell. But he had this old 76 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. He shows up at the open door. He says, get in, we're going on a trip. Okay, so I sign out. I said, what the fuck? He said, we're going to Brock's Greenhouse. We're getting your Brock's Greenhouse is at Seacorn Smith in Michigan, about 2 miles from my mother's. And now I had never been allowed in my parents' house since about 2004. And I'm a little nervous. He said, we're getting your mother flowers. It's on me. Mother's Day tomorrow. Mothers are our saints. We went there and my mom cried. I cried. Carl did. I couldn't go in the house to use the bathroom. She made me go behind the shed when I had to pee. But it was broken. That bond was back. A little bit of bond.
So you see, I got my USA shirt on. USA. What do people do when Donald Trump is announced at the Alabama football game? They, it was Alabama, Georgia. They chant USA, USA. You need your felon shirt. Only felons. Okay? He's going to put a picture of it over here. He's going to have like a little email, okay, if you want to get one. Okay, there's not a lot of time left. We got to make some people, let's just irritate some people between now and Election Day, right? It's a cool shirt. It fits good. It's comfortable. You'll really like it. All right? I'm the Outlaw Apostle. I'm Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
So I gave my mom the flowers, went back to the halfway house. And I ended up doing my 6 months there.
Is that what their program is?
That's what the program was. Followed through the probation, everything. Moved into my own place, first time in my life. Still working for minimum wage. Proud because I got money, right? I got an email from an old project manager from a union company. I worked in Detroit. He was down in Texas. He asked me if I wanted to come down and do a job down there for them. And yeah, I think so. So I told my family and they're like, oh, another pipe dream by Bob. He's going to go to San Antonio. He'll never make it. Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, February. Yeah, no. Yeah, it was February of 2010 to Florida. Or February 2009.
Okay.
I ended up going down there. They knew I had no license. They found me a job or an apartment 1.5 miles from the job. It was a JW Marriott resort at the San Antonio TPS. And I was in charge of the drywall finishers and painters.
So you even had like a position.
Tough. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they needed, basically they said, you know how to read blueprints and you can speak English. So when I was down there though, it was a huge change for me. The first day I had 24 guys. I ended up having 42 was the most I had. 2 of them spoke English, and the English they spoke, they didn't trust me because I was the Yankee wedo.
Right.
And every night I go home thinking I'm racist. I'd be like, these motherfuckers don't belong in my country. My son, who I had a relationship now with, was in Afghanistan serving, and these motherfuckers are coming across the border. They shouldn't be in my fucking country. That's my internal thought. We got kids dying that are citizens, blah, 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 all that. And, I call my dad. My dad, he'd set me straight. You're not racist, Robert. You're patriotic. So long story short, I ended up getting to know these guys, and they started trusting me. They're just trying for a better life. I don't care how they get here. That's not for me to decide politics or whatever. I met their wives. I met their children.
Right.
And
what about the sobriety at that point?
Still sober.
And what are you doing to maintain? You're not doing any of the things that you've learned to this point to do it.
Other than I got into doing retreats. I went on a men's retreat, and then I started doing teen retreats.
But down there, you're not going to any meetings or nothing. You don't have a sponsor.
No meetings at all.
So
and I'm angry.
That usually leads to bad shit.
I ended up getting. I was doing these teen retreats, which was holding me together spiritually, and I had an ex starting to accuse me of a bunch of shit on social media. So I went to the San Antonio CDC to get tested. She was accusing me of giving her some STDs.
Yeah.
And I went to San Antonio CDC. I said, so-and-so is telling me I got this. I need a whole test. Give me all the tests. So a week later, they call. Actually, I went on a Monday. They called on a Friday. Thursday, told me I could come Friday. I said, no, I can't. I'll come Monday because of work. First, I said, can't you just fucking tell me over the phone? They said, no, blah, 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 whatever. I go there on Monday. Mr. Mohr, you know why you're here? And I'm like, I guess you're going to tell me I got genital warts because that's what I was accused of having. And he's got this clipboard, rifle steward. He said, no, unfortunately, you're HIV positive. And my fucking heart dropped. I thought I was going to be dead. I'm going to say it how I thought at that time. Holy shit, I got the faggot disease. I know that's not right, but that's what I thought at that time.
That's what it was referred to at that time, right?
And I thought I was going to be dead. Thought about getting a pile of cocaine. I slept with a shotgun for about 3 weeks, thinking about taking myself out. Called my mother, all 11 of my siblings, and told them. I had to call the girl I was dating, told her. That was a whole fiasco. And I'd get texts from my mom, are you going to tell your father or should I? And for whatever reason, I didn't want to tell my dad, right? Finally, I did. I called him and I'm like, Dad, I got some news to tell you. He said, oh, how are you? I said, well, listen, I got HIV, but don't worry, I'm not going to die. I mean, I spit this out so quick. Magic Johnson's had it forever, and more people die from diabetes than this. So I'm going to beat this. And he said, listen, you're not going to die before me or your mother because none of my children are going to die before me or your mother because that's how life works. And I should have called him the first day, right? So I end up, I know this is going to sound bad, but I'm an honest guy. I wanted to move back to Toledo to be around my family, to die, because I didn't care what these people were telling me that I'm going to live. I didn't believe. I knew what I knew. So I moved back to Toledo for that reason. And here's the bad part, because most of the doctors didn't speak total English in San Antonio, and that was still part of my.
Still, like you found this out. How long after that, and what part did that diagnosis have in you using yet again?
Okay, well, the part when that happened there, and that social worker, there was a couple things that happened there though. He's looking at this clipboard and he's grilling me at first about sexual partners. We need every phone number, blah, blah, blah. I'm just sitting there and I did hear those two things. It sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher, blah, 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 blah. But Magic Johnson and that more people die about diabetes.
Right.
I also had an internal like peace of mind, like you're supposed to teach, you're going to be okay. So I moved back. The relationship was shitty. I wasn't going to meetings. Um, she was accusing me, telling
Right.
me you're a whore, not letting go of my past life. So don't know the exact date, but November of 2013, around Thanksgiving, I'm like, fuck it, and got high. And it went on
And what was that high? Crack?
Just
Crack
yeah.
was the
Yep.
main thing that
Crack
you were
was
drawn
the
to at
thing
that point?
At that point, it was crack. And it was typical like you hear. 3 days disappear. I was good for 3 weeks, and then fuck it till April 20th at 2
And where are you staying?
I'm living in our house that we bought in Bedford Township
Okay,
with my
okay.
girlfriend
Okay.
until she had enough,
Right.
which happened to be, I left on a Good Friday of 2014. You know what Good Friday is,
Right.
and I'm getting high. And that whole Saturday getting high, thank God she blocked the bank account, but I didn't know. So Easter's, I was staying at the crack house just waiting, and I was going to re-up at midnight, go to the bank, couldn't. So my sobriety date is April 20th, 2014, which happened to be Easter Sunday.
That stopped you?
Yeah. I was done. I couldn't get any money at that time. It was midnight. I owed people
Then what?
at this house.
Then what was your first step? If you're making that, that's your sobriety date, that's your end. Then what was your? You weren't able, or hadn't been able to that point. You had
What was
stretches
that? Because I
you had
knew,
stretches, but no, not you had stretches.
right.
But now
how did
you're-
I know that was going to be?
No. I'm just saying, when did you, was it then? That's Easter Sunday. Then Tuesday, did you go to a meeting? Because you still know
At
know
that
the
point,
right shit to
yes.
do.
Oh no, at that
Because you've
point,
done all the right shit
right.
before.
At that point, I knew I was thrown out of the house, our house.
Right.
And I went to my parents' house. No, I called Todd Crandall from Racing for Recovery. I needed a counselor, talked to him, started going to Racing for Recovery meetings, and sitting in there, I just knew, I'm not bashing the program at all. It works for some people. In my opinion, there's no spirituality. So I went back to AA, but I also was being blasted all over social media. So I blitzed through the steps. I did 90 and 90 like you're supposed to. I white knuckled it, did, a half-ass fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point in 2014 to probably somewhere around 2016, I stayed sober purely out of fucking spite. I was an angry, fucking bitter, but I also picked up my miles in running. That's
Okay.
when
When did that, what made you think, I don't know,
I
I'm going to
ended
go
up-
for a run now?
Well, I was already running. I ran my
Okay.
first marathon. I
While you were using?
No, I ran.
Okay.
Well, no, not while I was using. Prior, in less than 6 months after my diagnosis, I ran the Marine Corps Marathon in October of. I wasn't even on medication yet, and then from that point on, I was running. Yeah, I ran a few races when I was. No, but a week after I quit, 1 week after, I ran my second fastest marathon, the Glass City Marathon in 2014.
Wow.
And yeah, pure spite, anger and spite. And then, but I just started picking up my mileage. And at that point, I had my own business. I was working for out-of-town contractors through the union. But so here's my twisted part about lying, even though I'm sober and things that I do. I'd be doing a customer's house and it'd be so fucking nice outside and I'd want to run. So I'd square up to a corner and I'd have plenty of paint, but I don't have enough paint. I'm going to run to the paint store. I'll be back tomorrow. And I was at fucking Wildwood and running. I'd lie so I could run, but that was the only thing keeping me sane. It was, yeah, and slowly calmed me again. I met a guy that year at an Ironman who he was sober. He was a veteran in 2014. In July of 2000, No, first weekend of August 2014, I was his pacer. My first introduction to a 100-mile race.
But your sobriety date goes to from the your,
But
to,
April
today.
20th
The
to
one
today.
today, the
Yeah,
one that
yeah,
you've kept
yes,
and haven't
yes,
fucked up again,
yeah,
right?
yes,
Is
yes.
that
Yep,
Easter Sunday?
yes. But I went out there and was introduced to the 100-mile race, and I was just watching it like, I can do this. Look at that fat broad doing this. And that dude's out of shape. How's he doing that? And I went the very next year to that same race, cocky, overconfident, and quit at mile 86, crying like a little bitch. And the following year I finished, 2016. Since
But at
then,
that point, you had never run that many miles before, and that was the
no,
most
my
miles you'd
farther-
ever done
on,
in a
on-
race.
On my DNF, I had run a 50K. Yeah, about 15 minutes.
Your failure
after-
was the best you had ever done
exactly,
at that point.
Yeah, I was crying, and I just looked up, and I'm like, holy fuck, God, 31 miles was my farthest, and you let me run 86 fucking miles today. And then since then, I've done 26. I've entered 26 100-mile races, finished
And a shit ton of 50s, right?
50s, marathons, half marathons, fun runs, probably at least 8, maybe 10, 24 hours on a treadmill for fundraisers. And I have I've never kept one of my 100-mile finishers medals. I've given them to somebody that motivated me to help me finish that race.
That's cool. Do you have use your running? Is it spiritual for you running at all? And is there a
yeah.
connection there with
Yeah.
that spirituality
being
and staying sober?
Yeah, definitely. And the community, it's a huge community. Normal people don't run a 100-mile race. So
Oh,
the people
fuck
you
no.
meet are veterans with PTSD, families that lost a child to cancer, somebody that overcame cancer, addicts. I met a guy that last week at the 100 I ran, the 73 I ran of 100 miles last week. That was a cop that got kicked off the force for using drugs, PTSD, and now he's sober. And he
Right.
shared a story with me. Had I not been sober and running, I'd never hear that guy's story, and he wouldn't hear mine.
Right.
But yeah, so that community is not my sobriety community, but it's definitely a huge part of my sobriety and just a spiritual community where I've met so many fascinating people across the country. I've ran races across the country,
Right. Including here.
including Arizona, quite a few. But then, in October of 2022, boom, God didn't think I was strong enough or whatever. He died, gave me cancer, and looking back at that also, I knew why I ended up getting cancer, because I had everything I needed except a person in my life. And I'd bitch every night. Why am I fucking alone? Why won't you give me somebody, God? And so he gave me cancer to remind me that he's given everything to me and he can take everything back. I wasn't ready for a relationship. Wasn't ready for anybody. Let this motherfucking cancer keep you humble, you son of a bitch. And it kept me humble. Went through that, and I'm in remission now. And 5 months after this cancer surgery, I went
How
and
much
won.
did the HIV and the cancer break up your running?
None. They both added to it. They both added. They make me stronger. They make me stronger. I mean, part of me, the HIV is just, at first it was in my mind that if I don't run, HIV's taking over my body, even
Right.
though it's a medication taking care of it. But that mentality kept me running. This is why I'm healthy. This is why HIV that fucking day. The more miles I run, the farther HIV gets from me.
Right.
And so
And then what type of cancer did you have?
I had prostate cancer. They cut that out. 5 months and 2 days from the date I had surgery, I won the only 200-mile race I ever ran. And then getting back to me and you, we've talked about supplements through the years, and I'm always like, dude, I want to get faster. I want to do this. I need this. And you always kind of just humbly played it off, Eventually, we got talking, and I mean, like you said, we just met, but I feel like we're really good friends. I feel like you're my brother. And we started looking at my testosterone levels and age. We started doing that stuff, and that has increased my recovery for running, and it's actually made life better. So I owe a lot to you. Yeah,
man, your story. You've done so much. I'm just here where we're at now, and I'm just happy that God uses me to even using the supplements and stuff. Or testosterone, I meet a lot of addicts that way too. A lot of guys that get sober, I don't know if it's just in us that we have to have some kind of addiction, and it's almost like an addiction to healthy shit and, running. I mean, anything can be taken too far, but putting it together has been just awesome for me. I just never thought, how all things would connect like that, to be able to do that. And, I'm just blessed to be sitting here, and I loved hearing the stories yesterday about all the different runs, and it was really crazy. I had told Bob that, I listened to a lot of David Goggins last year at this time when I was doing 75 hard, listening to David tell me I was a fucking pussy. And it just, with that hard-nosed mentality, it's something I needed and still need today. And it's something you've described, that you've needed as well, and using our sobriety, there's just no excuse. There's no excuse. It was on us, and we didn't take it at one point, but finally you can't change something that you don't own.
Right.
You just can't. And that's what, and it took us a long, long time, but maybe somebody else can benefit, from what we've been through.
Right. I look at it like we're not supposed to know people we help. We aren't. Yeah. When we die, my look of what the other side's like is a grandmother's going to come up to me and say, see those grandkids down there? Your story, my son heard, and I have grandkids because of you. That's where we find out the truth.
Right.
It ain't on this side. We're not ever supposed to know who we help.
And then it was so funny because, like I had mentioned, David Goggins, when I'd listened to it, he would describe different events he had been in and how he qualified for them. And he'd give the breakdowns, and it'd be like, how the fuck can somebody remember that? And as you were telling the stories yesterday, talking that this happened and I was at this mile marker and this happened, like he knows the exact motherfucking mile marker he was at. And where did I hear that? David Goggins being a badass, I mean, I don't get, it is badass to beat this disease, or at least get a daily reprieve from this disease and be sober. And then in the onset, any one of those, either cancer or AIDS, that you didn't go drink when you got cancer, or go use again. That shit, but that was shit that 20 years ago for sure, you'd have fucking drank over. You'd have used for. You'd have thrown everything away. And so those tough things that we let alcohol and addiction give us an excuse for, we could stay sober through that shit.
Anything.
And
that's why I look back, and that's why I had to go through what I had to go through with HIV. So I didn't repeat it with cancer.
Right.
Here we are now.
That's just amazing. And married.
Yeah, I mean, and, my 11 siblings are in my life. All 11 and my mom and dad were at my wedding.
And that's incredible. Because through all that shit, it's very possible. And there are people out there that, There's some that will never give forgiveness. They
Yeah.
just and they're not obligated to.
They are not.
No.
Nope.
No.
And
We
what-
have to make the amend, and they don't have to
They
accept.
don't have to accept it. Now,
Yeah.
last year
That's a
too, I
blessing.
got to go on to honor flight with my dad to Washington D.C. The only way he would go is if I was his guardian.
And he was World War II?
No,
Is that
he
what it
was
was?
he
Or
was
was it Vietnam?
between Korea and Vietnam.
Okay.
He missed them both,
Okay.
thankfully. But,
Yeah.
but he had never been there, and my relationship with my son is broken still to this day. But it's the part of it is there, and he works in Washington D.C. My mother, when we were on honor flight, unbeknown to me and my dad, my son met us, spent 3 hours with us at honor flight, going through the World War II, War, Vietnam War memorials, and just talking. And we were able to have a conversation. The only thing I said to him was, I know you've heard it before, but I'm really changed this time. And he said, I'm not ready to accept that, Dad. And that was it.
That's it. That's how it is.
I got
but-
a hug from him. He hugged me. He said he loved me. Said I loved him. And we text once in a while. I get a reply back. Sometimes I don't. But that's on him. And I can't hold that as a resentment because I owned what I did. And he's got his happy life too. And if I'm never in it, that's okay too. Because I have a wonderful life now. I have people that just I can call any numerous people.
And so
borrow
what's your
money,
time now? How long you been sober now?
Be coming up on 11 years. Yeah.
And previous to that, when you were in and out and fucking up, what was the longest stretch that you had after you had really tried once?
Almost 5.
Almost
when-
5.
Yeah. HIV. That's not an excuse. Just was.
No.
I was not spiritually grounded.
Right.
And I'm one of them guys, I'll never use the word relapse. In my mind, it's a coward's word. I relapsed. Come hug me. No, I just said, I don't want to feel the fucking pain. I'm going to go fucking numb it because I'm a fucking pussy. Relapse is a coward's word. And that's just my opinion. I have a lot of those.
But 11 years, the longer you go, and we still got some time here and things left to do. You've made that contact with your son. That really hit me hard. That was a big. That step had to happen first before any other step
Right.
could happen, and he let it happen. And it, something when you do that, and it goes well.
Yeah. No, you had yours. Daughter. So yeah. Yeah. You know the outcome. And I know you wish it for me. Pray it for me. It was just, this past year, this shit that happened with my dad. You never all that they've done for me, all that I shit on them. I stole their identity. And
You did some fucked up shit, dude.
And there they are. And there they are. My dad fell and we had to take turns. I was able to be there to shower him and change his diaper. And, he had, he was humble about it and he just went on with it. And
Right.
all 12 of us were there. And, stuff in the family group text. I'm in the family group text for about a year now. I hadn't been in there for at least,
Long time.
a long time. And, the funny text, you ever think you get sober to wipe your dad's ass? Hear that from my
But that's a
sister.
blessing that you
It-
got sober to be
100,
there to
100.
actually
Oh,
wipe
yeah.
his ass. That's
Exactly.
the greatest
It
thing
is,
in the world, man.
And he just, and they're there. That's, fuck all that running. That running led me to this, but all the shit that happened in my life to put me to where I have relationships with people now and my family. If I never ran another day, it'd be okay. I've gone where I've gone.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting gooder and gooder.
I like that. So what do you got coming up? You got tell everybody about your 23 and 23 coming up.
Now you're making
I liked
me,
it.
Now you're making me do it. I'm
Well,
still.
hey, you said it.
I'm still.
If
Well,
you want
I
to
told
quit after that, you quit after that.
I told you I was thinking about it.
Oh, I
but
thought
here's-
for sure. Well,
yeah. Well, here's what it is. I have run 22 miles for 22 days in the past. I look back
For
last
veterans.
night for
That's
veterans
what
for
they say, how
veterans
many?
awareness, for suicide awareness, and it started. 2016 was the first time. Do you remember on Facebook in 2016 they were doing 22 push-ups?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for 22 days, and tag me in that, and you're gonna do this. Well, just me talking with friends, I'm like, I still wasn't all that clear in my mind. I still had a lot of anger. I'm like, how in the fuck does 22 push-ups save a fucking veteran, you fucking morons? That's the way. I would never say it publicly.
Right.
So
Well, you have now.
yeah. Well, no, I'm saying that was my
Right.
thought. Yeah, I would never blurt that out to somebody when they were doing that. So me, pure arrogance and cockiness that year, 3 of my friends tagged me that were veterans, and I'm like, I ain't fucking doing it. That's fucking bullshit. It's not saving veterans. It's 22 push-ups. Plus, I don't think I could do 22 push-ups for 22 days, to tell you the truth. I couldn't. So the one night, and I'm living with my friend in the basement at his house, who is a runner, and I'm sitting on the couch, and in my head, I make this like extravagant post, like 22 push-ups seems so trivial to me. I'm a runner. Tomorrow, I'm going to go out and start running 22 miles for the next 22 days. If I tag you in it, you don't have to do the 22 miles, but please do the 22 push-ups.
Right.
Boom. I put it out there public. And he's sitting on the couch, right? And like 10 minutes later, he just looks up. He said, "You're a fucking moron." And I said, "What? You don't think I can do it?" He said, "Of anybody I know you can." Okay, so I did, and it was pure arrogance, right? Probably about the 4th day, goosebumps telling you, I remembered a friend of mine from high school, veteran that killed himself.
Right.
Maybe the 6th day, that little scar started talking to me when I fucking ran. I started tagging people, and a friend of mine who's in recovery, her family owned a kitchen remodel place. The one day she got up in her dress on the kitchen counter and she's not a veteran, did the push-ups. All of a sudden I saw what word of mouth can do,
Mm-hmm.
and what else happened? This woman, this big black HIV positive that's in one of my friend groups that I met through these private Facebook groups, she's huge, right? She said, "Bob, send me a message. I didn't know this was happening to veterans. I don't know if I can do 22 push-ups throughout the day, but if I can do one every hour, I'm going to try. I didn't know this was happening. Can you please tag me so my friends know?"
Wow.
And then it got hard. Didn't get hard physically. It got fucking hard mentally, to where I started posting in my veteran groups and my friends' running groups. Can people join me for 5, 6, 8 miles? And the amount of support I had, that was the first year I did it. And I ended up finishing.
And you've raised money now doing it. Yeah.
And I finished it, and it was just like, it was a relief, but it was so cool. And, it was just the raising the awareness. I understood what that meant. And then that's when I just started doing a whole lot more fundraisers. So
now the 23. How'd you come up with 23?
23 because I think we memorialize the 22 that die so much. So why don't we fucking celebrate that 23rd veteran, the 23rd veteran that's shaking with the fucking pistol here, puts it down and lives. So why don't we celebrate the living? We're always memorializing the dead, and I don't want that to sound like trivial, but it's the truth.
Right.
It sucks that 22 veterans a day are doing that. But has anybody walked up to that 23rd and said, "Hey, I love you, brother. You know, good job. That's fucking strong." So when I get back somewhere by the end of October, I'll start the first day. The last time I did this was 2021.
You mean
I
November?
October, the last day of October,
Oh, the
and then
last
I'll
time-
run through,
okay.
and then I'll run through November. But in 2021, I did the 22 days, and on the 21st day, check this out. I flew with a friend of mine in the morning, 6 a.m. to Washington, D.C. for the first time ever that the public could lay a rose on the foot of the tomb of the unknown soldier. We went to do that, and that was the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I ever did. Then we visited Arlington. I was just beginning to talk to my family. I got pictures of some of the headstones of an uncle of mine. And then I ran my 22 miles in our fucking nation's capital that day. And then we flew home.
That's cool.
I
That's a cool run.
I finished at the Marine Corps Memorial. It was one of the cool. I've done a lot of really cool things. I'm blessed. I'm blessed that my body holds together. But yeah, I got to run 22 miles to raise awareness about veterans in our capital. I've ran a 100-mile race with a blind and deaf veteran twice.
Yeah.
Just
And Bob Mohr, Mohr on Facebook, right?
yep.
Are you on
Yep.
TikTok or anything else? Just
I'm on
Facebook?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah, I'm an Insta slut.
Okay. If you want to check out this crazy man's running, please do that there. This was great, man. I
Thanks,
really
Troy.
appreciate you.
I thank you.
You know, we started this not too long ago, and you know, I hope to. This isn't. I've interviewed some famous people when I had my radio show. You know,
Yeah.
some really, really well-known people. But I'd like to do that again and include that. But I want it to be more than that, because there are people that people will never know that, you know, we're famous to 5,000 fucking people, so to speak, and that's it. That people need to know, that have a story,
Yeah.
you know, that can benefit from, and so, you know, just us regular folks. I
Right.
want to include that,
Yeah.
and I can't thank you enough for doing this with me today. So,
Thank you for having me, Troy.
of course. All right, guys. There's our show, and we're not going to cut this one. I'm telling Chase, we're not going to cut this one into two like we did mine. This is it. This is Joe Rogan's 2 fucking hours, right? That's what we just did, and it was awesome to listen to. And I thank you. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm Troy Neff, your host. I'm the fucking guy.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life.